49 tweets between 3 and 4 a.m. One every 80 seconds. That was Elon Musk on February 2nd, 2025, while he was supposedly leading the federal government's efficiency initiative. His friends have begged him to stop. An investor pleaded with him to just go get an ice cream cone instead of tweeting. Grimes, the mother of 3 of his children, publicly wrote, "I love you, but please turn off your phone." His own response was, "I think I should not tweet after 3 a.m. He kept tweeting after 3 a.m., and I wanted to understand why. Everyone has the pop psychology explanation ready. He's addicted. He is a narcissist. He can't help himself. So I went looking for the real answer. Because when you look at the numbers, the Elon is addicted to Twitter explanation stops making sense. And the Elon is a genius strategist explanation also stops making sense. What's actually happening is stranger and more important than either one. What I found when I dug into Musk's posting behavior is a system that a Harvard political scientist has called unlike anything that has ever existed in any democracy on Earth. Today, I'm going to show you what his tweets are actually worth in dollars, and then trace the flywheel that connects his posting to a $38 billion government contract portfolio. Let's start with the money. Tesla, through 2022, spent effectively $0 on traditional advertising. Zero. GM spent $5 billion annually. Ford spent $4.3 billion. Tesla spent nothing. Musk's personal account, which has more followers than Ford, Chevrolet, and Chrysler combined, was the marketing department. The company reached $1 trillion market cap on the back of earned media, and Musk's timeline was the engine producing it. Tesla topped the Wall Street Journal's list of brands with cultural traction, beating Apple and Nike. And each individual tweet carried financial weight that entire corporate communication departments could never match. His infamous August 7th, 2018 funding secured tweet drove Tesla stock up 11% intraday before a trading halt. Expert testimony in the class action case estimated $12 billion in investor losses from that single tweet. On the upside, a single 2025 tweet detailing Tesla's AI chip roadmap added approximately $90 billion in market cap in one session. And to understand the scale of time he pours into this, in 2018, the Wall Street Journal analyzed 4,925 of his tweets and found it was common for him to post more than 30 times in a single day. By mid-2024, independent analysts measured 67.8 tweets per day. Then the 2024 election arrived, and analysts counted 101 tweets daily. The Washington Post documented 3,870 posts in 26 days, generating over 33 billion views. During his first 15 days heading Doge, the count peaked at 178 posts in a single day, and the curve is still going up. An independent analyst cross-referenced his posting times with a private jet tracker to estimate how long he actually spends on the platform. The conservative number was 3.2 hours a day. The richest person on earth spends more time posting than most people spend commuting. And the people closest to him knew it was dangerous. In 2019, Tesla board member Antonio Gracias locked Musk's phone in a hotel safe. Gracias entered the code himself so Musk couldn't retrieve it, a well-meaning intervention from a friend who could see the damage. Musk woke at 3 a.m. and called hotel security to crack the safe open. Tesla investor Joseph Fath compared Musk's tweeting to Lindsay Lohan's erratic public behavior and emailed him, "Remember the golden rule. Delete, don't tweet." Less than 3 weeks later, Musk sent the funding secured tweet that led to $40 million in SEC fines. The SEC settlement required his resignation as chairman and a consent decree mandating pre-approval of tweets containing material business information. People around him called this mechanism the Twitter sitter. Musk repeatedly violated it. When he tried to terminate the consent decree in 2022, the judge denied the motion, calling his arguments meritless. The Second Circuit upheld the settlement in May 2023. He kept posting. On CNBC, he explained why. I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequences of doing that is losing money, then so be it. The hotel safe, the SEC consent decree, the pleas from investors, the judge calling his legal arguments meritless. These were all attempts to build a wall between this man and his phone. Every single one failed. And when you see the returns those tweets generate, you start to understand why. But replacing advertising and moving markets are just the obvious parts. The less obvious part is what happened after he bought the platform. In February 2023, Musk posted a Super Bowl tweet about the Philadelphia Eagles. It received roughly 9 million impressions. Not bad. President Joe Biden's Super Bowl tweet got 29 million impressions. For a man who had just paid $44 billion for the platform, this was apparently intolerable. Musk flew his private jet to Twitter headquarters that Sunday night. His cousin James Musk sent a Slack message to engineers at 2:36 a.m. flagging a, quote, high urgency issue. Approximately 80 engineers were pulled in. By Monday afternoon, the recommendation algorithm included what internal documents called a, quote, power user multiplier that boosted Musk's tweets by a factor of 1,000. When Twitter open sourced its recommendation algorithm 2 months later, the code revealed author is Elon as its own category, sitting right alongside Democrat, Republican, and power user. A literal hard-coded privilege in the system. Internal estimates found over 90% of Musk's followers now see his tweets in their For You feed. Platformer broke the story and Bloomberg confirmed it. He went from owning a megaphone to owning the acoustics of the entire room. And the effects showed up immediately in the data. Academic researchers tracked an engagement spike starting on one specific day, July 13th, 2024. That was when Musk made his big presidential political endorsement. After that date, his engagement roughly doubled or tripled across every metric, far outpacing comparable political accounts. The AP found his interactions with a German politician boosted her daily audience from 230,000 to 2.2 million. During the 4 months around the 2024 election, his post received 133 billion views. That's 15 times the audience of any individual elected official, and more than 16 times the combined reach of all incoming members of Congress. But reach is a broadcasting metric. What the algorithm actually gives him is something I call cognitive infrastructure, and here's what I mean by that. 133 billion moments where his framing of an event arrives before anyone else's. When a story breaks on X/Twitter, Musk's interpretation is often the first one users encounter, and the first frame installed tends to be the one everything else gets measured against. Political strategists spend millions finding the right words for a policy. Death tax polls differently than estate tax. Musk skips the word choice entirely. He controls the infrastructure through which the words travel, determining which stories get oxygen and which suffocate. Stanford researcher Patty Learson published a paper in 2025 naming what Musk was doing. He called it economic instrumentalism, the idea that Musk uses control of the platform to protect business interests that depend heavily on government money. Musk's companies have received $38 billion in government money across contracts, loans, subsidies, and tax credits. The posting and the portfolio are connected, and the connection runs through the algorithm. By the way, if you're finding this interesting, please hit subscribe. I break down stories like this pretty much every week. Now, let's get into the historical parallel that makes this whole system click. When people reach for historical comparisons, they might usually mention Hearst, Murdoch, or Berlusconi. But the parallel with real structural teeth might be Henry Ford. After losing a Senate race in 1914, Ford bought a newspaper and used it to shape public discourse by owning the outlet directly. The paper reached circulation of 700,000 to 900,000, partly because Ford required every dealership to distribute it. Every Ford showroom in America became a node in a media distribution network. If you walked in back then to look at a Model T, you walked out with Ford's newspaper. A forced distribution system structurally identical to Musk's algorithmic self-amplification. You don't just write the content, you also control the delivery infrastructure that puts it in front of people whether they ask for it or not. Ford's Mr. Ford's Page column, where the industrialist spoke directly to a captive audience and bypassed editors entirely, is a direct ancestor, perhaps, of the Musk timeline. Both men built a manufacturing empire first, then acquired a media channel to protect and extend it. Both understood that owning production wasn't enough. You had to own the narrative around production. But Ford's system had a ceiling. He couldn't measure which articles resonated, couldn't adjust distribution in real time, and couldn't suppress a competitor's message while boosting his own. Musk can potentially do all of that. And he can do something Ford never could: hold government appointment while running the entire operation. Nobody before him has fused media ownership, industrial production, government authority, and personal celebrity into a single integrated system. Ford had constraints that kept him contained. Musk stripped those constraints out. And when you remove the limits from a system this powerful, the losses get just as bigger as the gains. A Yale study, the first academic analysis of what has been happening, put a number on the damage. Musk's polarizing behavior since October 2022 cost Tesla over 1 million US vehicle sales. Without the activity, Tesla would have been selling roughly 2.5 times as many cars by early 2025. Competitors' EV sales increased 17 to 22% as customers switched away. Tesla's brand value collapsed from $58.3 billion to $27.6 billion, a 53% decline in those 2 years. Then there was the advertiser exodus from X itself. In November 2023, Apple, Disney, IBM, Comcast, and Warner Bros. And Paramount all pulled their ad spending. Internal documents tracked over 200 ad units from companies pausing or considering pausing. At the DealBook Summit shortly after, Musk told departing advertisers to go F yourself, specifically calling out Disney CEO Bob Iger, then acknowledged the boycott could, quote, kill the company. U.S. advertising revenue during a 5-week span in spring 2023 had plunged 59% year over year. So look at both sides of the ledger. On one side, 1 million lost car sales with a 53% brand value collapse, and an advertiser revolt that almost killed the platform. On the other side, a $1 trillion company built on zero advertising, 220 million followers, 133 billion views in 4 months, a government appointment, and $38 billion in contracts across all of his companies. Both columns are growing simultaneously. Most analysis tries to resolve this tension by picking a side. Either he's a genius playing 4D chess, or he's someone who just can't stop posting. I think the more honest read is that both are true simultaneously, and the inability to separate them is the whole point. To see why, look at how the posting actually functions inside his companies. Former Tesla employee Christian Marcus described on LinkedIn how this works day to day. When Musk was informed that the engineering team was about to implement a new solution, he would announce it on his Twitter feed and let customers know. The company looked impossibly responsive because the CEO's timeline was synchronized with the engineering team's deployment schedule. The tweets were coordinated announcements disguised as spontaneity. That coordination extends across the entire portfolio. Tesla's vehicle fleet generates physical world data. X generates human discourse data. xAI's Grok leverages X's live information stream. Together, they create a proprietary advantage no competitor can replicate because no competitor owns both the cars and the conversation. And the platform keeps getting harder to leave. Government agencies now use X as their primary communication channel, embedding it in public infrastructure. Once you see that integration, the flywheel comes into focus. And this is where I need you to follow me closely, because this loop is the real answer to the question in the title. It starts with posting. More posting drives more followers. His count has more than doubled since acquiring X, reaching 230 million, with no other top account achieving comparable continuous growth. Those followers generate outsized influence. When his interactions with a single German politician can boost her audience from 230,000 to 2.2 billion overnight, that's leverage no lobbyist can match. That influence converts to political access, a government appointment running Doge, direct lines to policymakers, the ability to set the terms of public conversation before anyone else can weigh in. That political access protects $38 billion in government contracts across Tesla, SpaceX, and his other companies. Those business resources sustain control of the platform where the posting happens. And the platform enables more posting, which drives more followers, which drives more influence. Each component feeds the next. No competitor can replicate this because no competitor owns all 6 components, and every piece reinforces every other piece. As Harvard political scientist Stephen Levitsky put it, this is a combination of economic, media, and political power that I believe has never been seen before in any democracy on Earth. Walter Isaacson, who spent 2 years shadowing Musk, posed what I think is the right question. Would a restrained Musk accomplish as much as Musk unbound? The answer is probably no. The same compulsive energy that wakes him at 3 a.m. to break into a hotel safe for his phone is the energy that built a $1 trillion plus company, multiple companies, on zero advertising dollars, or basically zero. This same impulsivity that cost 1 million car sales also produced 133 billion views in 4 months. The strategic and the pathological are fused, and that fusion is the engine. The people around Musk have tried everything to separate them. Hotel safes, SEC consent decrees, judicial rulings, public pleas from the mother of his children, none of it worked. And none of it was ever going to, because the system he's built doesn't distinguish between the compulsion and the strategy. They run on the same circuit through the same phone at the same hour of the night. The phone is where the $1 trillion and the genius lives. If you want more breakdowns like this on the hidden systems behind power and influence, I send one out basically every week in my free newsletter. Link is in the description. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.